Welcome to my kitchen. My name is Brandy and I'm an olive oil sommelier. In this second in a series of videos, I want to share with you some tips for when you're shopping for olive oil so that hopefully you bring home an olive oil of high quality. If you're anything like me, you consider it a lot of fun to be out and about, maybe on vacation, and find yourself in one of those gourmet food stores, or even in the fun stores we have in the US around, like TJ Maxx, and you look and there are so many olive oils to choose from on the shelves. Well, what do you select? What do you bring home? Firstly, glass bottles. Yes for glass bottles. Just by virtue of glass traditionally being the standard for good quality olive oil, I consider olive oil in plastic suspect. I figure it's from a very large producer. I believe that the oil will have an affinity to the plastic itself in terms of their chemical composition. So I prefer glass, so that's a start. Secondly, yes, the dark bottles do matter. Keeping light out of the olive oil will keep it from retarding as quickly. If you're not aware, olive oil is very perishable. It's losing its quality all the time. So anything you can do to keep up its quality, you want to do. In fact, when I'm shopping, I will pick out my bottle of olive oil from the back of the shelf because, let's face it, even in the store, there's high light levels that the olive oils are being subjected to every day. So that's something that I do. So that's easy enough. You have your dark glass bottles. And what do you look for on the labels? What really matters? Let's talk about it. So some olive oils have what's called a DOP. This particular one does. It's produced in a certain region in Sicily. And the DOP means that it may be strictly controlled as to which olives are used, meaning olives that have been historically grown in that region are the only olives that a producer can use and process to get a DOP. There are also other quality standard metrics associated with the DOP. This is in the European Union, but not every region has a DOP. And some olive oils have an IGP. An IGP is saying it's from a designated region, or it may also just be indicating that certain experts have validated the quality of the oil in theory. So those are designations, but not every region will have these. Of these four, as I mentioned, one has DOP, one has an IGP, and then two do not. I'm not saying you should only buy oil that's DOP or IGP, but it will in fact maybe have a flavor profile unique to that region. The olives, the variety of the olive, the terroir, just like in wine, maybe the climatic conditions of that region and the soil itself will affect the olive oil. So it's a nice thing, but I have purchased many good olive oils that have neither designation. So talking though about the production and the types of olives, this and that, you can find olive oils that are from a single producer. Those olive oils will likely have a flavor profile that's unique to that area, and it's probably quite good because they didn't just send their olives off to the cooperative. They are sent to the mill and separated from the oils of other producers. I have had wonderful oils, one from Majorca, one from up in northern Italy, in fact, another one from Tuscany that I purchased right at the oil mill itself. And yes, these are unique oils that do have good flavor. So if you can't find single producer oils, you want the oil to be from a region. And if you can't find that, you want it to be from one country. My experience is that oils blended from multiple countries, they're probably of less quality. Not saying that they're bad and not saying that they aren't extra virgin, but the likelihood of you're really finding something special is, the smaller the area or even single producer. So just something to keep in mind. So different labels will tell you this or that. This one will even say, well, this was processed in a certain area. So that's just a good thing that, well, they're not taking in olives from everywhere. They're local. So you might really enjoy this oil. Now, it's not saying that you prefer the flavor profile. That's still a function of your taste. And you won't really know if it's extra virgin until you get it home and you sniff it and you taste it, in fact, and watch my previous video on all things about judging the quality of olive oil. Okay, so another thing to look at is the dating. Some oils just have a use-by date. Some have a harvest time frame or even the date. One here has the date of harvest. Another one just says, well, it's this harvest, say from a certain year. This one just says the year. You want to look at the dates. It is best to know the year it was produced. Typically the use by date is 2 years out, but I noticed one of these is labeled 2.5 years out. And I wouldn't want to use an olive oil 2.5 years old. Again, it's so perishable. I like to use olive oil within the year that it's produced, a year after it's produced, in fact. So best is to find if they have both dates. That's nice. That gets me into, well, when to shop for olive oils. I try to purchase more oil in the winter because I'm hoping to find, and I'm reading the labels, I'm hoping to find olive oil that was produced last fall. Harvest in Europe is in the fall. Harvest in Northern Africa is in the spring. So if I'm getting an Italian olive oil, I'd like to get it in the winter, spring. I know it's fresh if I read the label and they're showing me when it was produced, or if they don't and the use by date is still a 1.5 years out, then I'd like to think, well, it was harvested that last fall. So that's another thing to look for on your label. Now, as to these different series of claims that are on the bottles, claims like first press, cold press, first cold press. When you actually witness a harvest, as I have, I've witnessed olives coming in to the olive mill, the Frontoio, to be processed. Well, the olives are all cold pressed to the best extent they can be. They come in and they try to press them. Well, they don't actually press them, we'll talk about that, but they try to produce the olive oil first thing in the morning, so it's cold. Now, as far as pressing, no. The olives are either cut or crushed, and then they go through a centrifugation process to extract the oil. So they're really not even pressed. So don't mind these words on the labels. You think they mean something. I used to. Now I know they don't mean so much. If you're getting an olive oil from Greece or Spain or Italy, and it's glass bottle, hopefully regional, you can expect that the olives were extracted in the cold. Now, they're also not pressed or extracted a second time. So the first aspect doesn't mean anything, okay? They're usually processed just one time for olive oil that you would use for cooking, okay? Some bottles here have an acid level. Yes, you want a lower acidity. This one says maximum acidity, 0.5%. A little lower would be even better. 0.5% would be marginally fine. 0.2%. Wow, that would be even better. Some labels, they're not giving you that information. So sometimes you have it, sometimes you don't. Now, we talked about when to buy the oil. One thing I want to share with you is that I store my olive oils in the refrigerator. I do this to retard oxidation. They're also out of the light when they're in the refrigerator. My experience is that my olive oil does stay fresher longer doing this. I've been doing this practice for several years, and an olive oil that's just been out on the shelf versus an olive oil stored in the refrigerator, I really taste the difference. Olive oils, even if they're not defective, they'll lose flavor over time. And so I find that mine keep their flavor. Ones that are well over a year old, if they've been in the refrigerator, still have a lot of flavor. So that's my tip as far as storing your olive oil. So we talked about what to look for on the label, when to shop for it, how to store it, hopefully. And I want you to go have fun now when you find yourself in a gourmet store. Have fun with that, read the labels, curate some olive oils to bring it home, and then really see if they're extra virgin by judging them, and then hopefully you enjoy how they taste. So for now, bye-bye.